Hi, today we're painting Brood Queen from Marvel United X-Men. Brood Queen was a stretch goal from the X-Men campaign. She's a Kickstarter exclusive. Her first appearance was in Uncanny X-Men number 155 in 1982. So we start off with a primer. We spray our minis with a dark gray and then a white zenithal highlight. All of our tools and paints that we use are linked in the description box below. I first started with desert yellow, and then once I started painting, I realized, yeah, this is way too yellow. So I switched over and started painting 1 part mahogany brown and 1 part desert yellow mix, and went ahead and painted her all that one color. Now we're going to pick out some spots with just the mahogany brown by Vallejo. Today's music is provided by Max Oakland. His Spotify link is down in the description box below. So we're going to go ahead and paint her belly and these top little sections on her head. And I found that a really big brush like this monster brush by Army Painter works really well for these large sections or these larger minis. And we're going to paint desert yellow for her wings. And we're going to use Citadel Word, I always say this name wrong, Citadel Word Barriers Red for her mouth. And here she is all base coated. She's got a lot of recesses and areas that a shade will work really nicely. So we're going to use 1 part strong tone with 1 part Lamia medium. And again, a big brush works really well for larger figures like this. Now for all of those flat areas, I'm using a wet brush to wipe off the wash. I don't want it to stain it, just using the wash to get in all those creases and darken all those sections. So I'm taking 1 part at a time, making sure to wipe off those larger flat areas. We also went ahead and painted her base before I started painting her, just because it's all the way underneath and it's easier to dry brush if she's not painted yet. So what we did was we painted a deep blue and then just used lighter blues to dry brush her base. And then later I'm going to use the same technique as I did for Silk's base with grass. I'll link that up below. I will put a tag up at the top, or I will link it in the description box below, but all I did was use pinks and purples instead of the greens, and it made it look like an alien planet. I use Vallejo white on her eyes so that this next color, orange, burning ore, will show up nice and bright. Now we're going to use Barren Dune for her teeth. And all of these little details I'm unable to record, unfortunately, because she's about 1 inch away from my face because I'm using some magnifying glasses. Now we're going to mix some ice yellow with the burning ore and highlight her eyes. So I'm leaving the darker color at the top, and the highlight is actually going to be on the lower 2/3 of her eye. I'm also using pale sand to highlight her teeth. Now for her mouth, I'm going to mix in Citadel Pink Horror to the base coat red. And then we're just going to keep mixing in a little bit more of that pink horror to highlight. And when I'm highlighting her tongue, I'm having the highlight go brightest at the very end. Okay, now back to the base color. So we have a mix of desert yellow and mahogany brown. And now we're going to paint all the flat sections and all the areas, leaving that wash in the recesses so we can start up the highlights. And then mahogany brown to bring back to the base color on her belly and those areas on the top of her head. Now we're going to add a little bit of the desert yellow to the mix. And this is going to be our highlight color. So in order for her to look scaly, we're going to give it some texture. What I'm doing is painting little brush strokes across the whole upper part of the sections. So that lower section, we're going to keep the mahogany brown because that's in shadow. So we're only doing the upturned surfaces of her belly. And as we go lighter and lighter in the highlight, we're going to do smaller and smaller sections. Same for her eyebrows and those top parts of her head. Now for desert yellow on the main part of her body. I highlight all the little sections on the side of her head. And just like the belly, and just little sections of her legs, and her arms, and the tops of her claws, fingers. And for her arms and for her legs, I'm just highlighting the top sections. So yep, just paint little lines, not connecting them until you get towards the bottom, and then you're gonna paint a little bit more. And those lines are gonna get more concentrated towards the end. And these highlights are gonna be lower towards the end. We're going to use the same technique, so little lines all the way to the end, and then connecting them more concentrated toward the ends of each section. And now we're using this color also very minimally on her arms and her legs. Now we're going to add a little ice yellow to the same mix and highlight a little more. For the highlights on her head, I'm going to just do like the tip of her nose area and that middle section of her head, because that's what would hit. That's where the sunlight would be mostly. And then for her wings, I'm using Repainter Fanatic Barren Dune. And I really enjoyed the Fanatic line so far. We've got links in our description box of the Triad paints if you'd like to take a look. We're going to add ice yellow to the Barren Dune. And just like her belly and her tail, I'm only going to paint little sections of the ends of her wings. And then by using the last color, nope, not yet, sorry. Now just ice yellow for the very end of the wing. And now using a glaze of the last mix, Barren Yellow and Ice Yellow, I'm just going to keep going back and forth between the areas to give that textured look. Now before Before painting a new color on the wings, make sure the last color has completely dried. Otherwise, the layer you just painted will come up on your brush. I've had that happen way too many times. And here she is all painted. As you can see on her base, I've painted little tufts of pinkish purple grass, alien planet plants. And if you'd like to see close-up photos of any of our Marvel United painted miniatures, you can check out our Instagram at Gnomes and Brushes. And thanks for watching. See you next time.